they like didn't worry them. They're just like, hey, he's here. Like they just, you know.
Ghost is here.
No.
Hey, Ghost.
Gosh.
It's like a third roommate. Sup, Ghost? Yeah.
Oh, you're up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morning. I've been up for hours. Where have you been?
Oh, funny.
Welcome to the Wild Roads. I'm Shonah Lee.
And I'm Paula Ivy. Join us for conversations about how we don't do stuff normal.
How we choose the wild roads of life. We want to show you all that's fun and possible, building businesses, making money,
Navigating relationships and parenting, things we nerd out about.
and running at our wildest dreams.
All right.
All right.
Follow the ivy.
Yeah, Shonah.
What is one or two things, whatever you want to do, whatever, wherever your soul takes you, what is
I'm
one
listening.
thing that you believed in,
Oh, yes.
that you truly believed, and then you found out it wasn't true?
Oh, yeah. You mean like something that you believed that was like fact, and then one day you found out that it was not in fact a fact, and it like changes your whole
Exactly.
world in like an instant?
Exactly, like your whole world comes crashing down.
Okay, so this is one. I know I've had many more. What more might come to me later, but this is one that I had when I was really, really little. I remember my dad saying to me that, you know, when you turn the car on,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how you've got like the accessories mode where like all the
Yes.
lights come on, but the
Yep.
engine still hasn't kicked over? My dad told me that if you leave a car on accessory mode, it can blow up.
Oh.
And I thought that to be true for a really, really long time. And so when I got my own car, I actually still believed it. And I used to always
did you?
freak out whenever I'd turn it to accessories, and then I'd be like, no, I've got to turn it on. It's going to
It's gonna blow. It's gonna blow.
Because one of my favorite things as a kid was when my dad, you know, was he wasn't a mechanic, but he knew a lot about cars and fixing cars. It was kind of like his hobby. And so he was always doing stuff with cars. And so whenever he was hanging out, like doing stuff with the cars, I would get in the cars and like turn them on and pretend that I was driving. So obviously he told me that so I wouldn't turn it on to accidentally like, you know, start the
Flatten
car
the
while he
battery.
was trying to do stuff to it and drain the battery. Yeah. But yeah, he told me that it would blow up if it's left on accessories.
Driving your car around just like, quick, get it past accessories.
Oh, my brother told me that like my brother broke the news to me one day and he was like, you're an idiot. And I'm like,
Oh, that is hilarious.
I can't remember what we were doing, but like we were in the car. I can't remember what car it was, but he turned it to accessories and he hadn't turned it on straight away. And I was like, Dad, the car's going to explode. And he was like, what? He's like, you're an idiot.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny.
All right. What's yours?
Oh my gosh, mine is devastatingly cringeworthy. Like everyone's gonna feel really bad for me, or they'll just think I'm the biggest stalker ever. No, seriously, my dad told me that jaywalking was when you walk across the road on an angle. So my whole childhood and 20s, so I didn't break the law, I always went across the road straight. I walked across the road straight, always. And I never knew that jaywalking didn't mean that. And so I was in Vietnam in 2018 with my brother. And I was like going like, wouldn't go on an angle. I'm like going straight across the road. And he's like, it's like, we got to go like, and he just couldn't work it out. And I'm like, but that's jaywalking, right? He's like, what the fuck? Like, and then I had to tell him, and he's like, no, dickhead. Like, and so it was only 3 years ago that I found out that jaywalking wasn't because you cross the road on an angle. That's terrible. That's just nuts. Like, what? But even if you tell your kid that, like, wouldn't it come to a point like that, you know, when a certain person in red isn't real, that you tell your kids that that's not. He obviously
He
forgot.
probably doesn't even remember. He probably
does.
Oh yeah, it's when you walk on an angle. Ha ha. Dad joke. Hashtag dad joke.
I know.
But then you're like, kids don't understand dad joke and sarcasm.
Like that was an enforced law.
Wow. That's
Oh
pretty
my
funny.
God. That's devastating.
I know I've had many of those moments where it's like your world kind of changes in an instant. You're like, that's not true. And I've lived my whole life
walking straight across roads my whole life. Because I didn't
time you've wasted not walking diagonally to get somewhere.
Mate, when I wanted to be a rebel and I was walking on the wild side, I went angle across the road.
But imagine how many times you actually were jaywalking, but you're like, nah, I'm walking in a straight line. It's fine.
Exactly. I've probably been breaking the law my whole life. Like, but I just thought I was fine. I was walking across the road straight. I'm good.
Oh, imagine if that came to light while talking to a police officer trying to book you for jaywalking, and you're like, nah, man, I went straight.
Pretty sure I know the law more than you do. Been doing this for 46 years.
I know how jaywalking works. Oh, that is so funny. Oh, Sean. Oh, isn't that hilarious? Oh, that just...
Even worse, Paula, is that my brother picked it up in Vietnam. Like, to cross the road in Vietnam, if you haven't been there, have you been there?
I have not been to Vietnam,
It's
no.
full of traffic, right?
Yeah.
It's chaos. It's like traffic in all directions, and to cross the road is just it's an experience. And it's just like, to choose to go straight in that, where you've got to, like, you get knocked and you're pushed by, like, you know, it's full on, but like,
you can't literally
still had that conditioning, and I couldn't go on an angle.
Straight, man, get out of my way.
I know. Oh man.
Oh, that is hilarious.
My life has changed.
Isn't it great that our older brothers were there? Oh, yours is younger, isn't he?
Yeah, a couple of
But our
years
brothers
ago.
were there to let us know how idiotic dumb we actually are.
I love brothers so much because they don't give it to you lightly. They don't
filter.
Do anything
You're like,
softly. It's
stop
just
it. You're an idiot. No.
Exactly. Like,
what else has mum and dad been telling you that you're believing? Oh my gosh. That is hilarious.
Speaking about believing things and what we're told, I reckon this is going to be a fun episode, talking about some pretty fun, interesting topics.
Oh, I love talking about this.
I do too. It's fascinating. I love it. Actually, I have a client that is really into talking about and finding out about aliens. And it's really cool because I really wanted to believe in them as a child, and then I didn't, and then I did, and then I didn't, and then I did, and I still don't know what, like, how aliens, it's a thing, like, it's fascinating.
Do you believe in aliens, or are you not sure?
I'm unsure at this point. I don't think. Oh no, I'm not going to say I don't think. I don't know. I'm really open to it, but I'm a very evidence-based person. So I don't know. I flip with that. What about you?
See, this is a very interesting subject because it kind of questions what you believe. Because I believe that we're all spiritual beings.
Yeah.
We're having a human experience here on this planet.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that this is the only planet where spirits are going to have an experience.
Well, this is true. This is what I'm questioning myself, and this is what I'm like, yeah,
There's a lot we don't know. Like,
it is. Yeah.
it seems like scientists will make discoveries and then all of a sudden it like cans are out of the worm, worms are out of the can, and there's a whole bunch of stuff they start to question.
Yeah.
And then other stuff kind of shifts and changes in their beliefs and things. So like there's scientific proof for certain things, and there's people claiming certain things would make sense because of scientific proof and all of this sort of stuff. But then at the same time, I'm like, science is scientific proof because somebody's proved something that they believed in.
Yes.
Like they're like, oh, I think this. I'm going to go look for evidence that this is a thing.
Yeah.
But then other people can come and be like, I wonder if that, like, if maybe this is true. And then like they're making discoveries and diving into different areas of things all of the time that like things are shifting and changing in beliefs and things anyway. So originally we thought that the Earth was flat, and, you know, scientists have proved, and I use that in air quotes, I do believe the Earth is round, but there are still conspiracy theorists who believe that the Earth is flat.
Yes, that's right. Correct.
And they have some pretty good arguments as to why.
Yeah.
And like I'm just open to perspective because I'm like, okay, at this time, like to me, it makes sense that the world would be a sphere. I can't talk today. Oh, well. Is, you know, a ball shape.
Yes,
floating around in space, orbiting around the sun, all of that sort of stuff. But in saying that, I'm open to that being shifted because we're always discovering new things.
That's right. Yeah, I'm very open to it. I also feel strongly that the Earth's round at this moment in time, till proven otherwise. But yeah, it's funny. It's really, really interesting because how do you actually determine? It's kind of like when people go, do you believe in God? As a child, I went, which one? As a child, I was just like, but there's so many. So which one's right?
Yeah.
Right? Which one's right? And it's sort of like in my adult world, in my adult life, it's just like, well, which scientific-based theories are right as opposed to others? Like, you know, and we're all learning and absorbing all this information all the time. And we're not, well, some of us aren't scientists. We're not in the lab. We're not learning and discovering and you know, experimenting and things. We're not working this out. We're just getting information from different sources and trying to make up our own minds about things, right?
Yeah.
So I do question myself, like, where's the balance, where's the tip of having a opinion about something or a belief about something when it's based on evidence that I need evidence to believe in it, or whether it's just like, okay, that makes sense to me, I will believe that, but I have no evidence, but it makes sense. Where's the line there? How do we, you know? And so I guess that when I see people that are like, no, that's factual, and so you're so wrong, that kind of gets under my grills about a bit, because it's just like, how do you know I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Like, how do you
We don't
really,
know
really
everything.
know? Yeah.
We do not know everything.
We don't. I don't believe that humans landed on the moon, that we did in the 60s. I don't believe that happened.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
I won't
Yes.
tell you you're wrong if you think they did, but I don't. Yeah, gosh,
This is so
And
interesting.
yeah,
I went down the did we or did we not land on the moon rabbit hole when I was studying graphic design, actually.
oh yeah,
And we had this assignment that we needed to do. We had a project, and it was design a poster campaign for, Absolute Vodka.
oh yeah, yep,
They always do these campaigns where it's like Absolute something. If you go and look up the Absolute Vodka campaigns, you'll notice they do these big posters. I can't think of any of the examples right now. This was a very long time ago, but we had to come up with an example of something that was absolute.
okay,
something we had an
cool.
opinion about, something that was, an absolute. And it could be like something that was kind of poking fun at something, or it could be something, a truth for you sort of thing.
Yeah.
Can't remember the exact brief, but I remember picking Absolute Conspiracy. And that was what it said, absolute, the way that Absolute Vodka writes it, and then conspiracy. Yeah. And then I had a picture of a guy on the moon. That was my poster.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was like, I went down this rabbit hole of like, did we not land on the moon? Because I started going into like the forums and like the reviews and like the discussion papers and all of the things on like, there's some very convincing arguments about, because I was like, yeah, we landed on the moon. But it's funny that, some people don't think that we did. And then I started reading some of these things. I was like, actually, maybe we didn't. Maybe we did not land on the moon. Yeah. And I'm like, how come we haven't been to the moon since?
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, we've been into space. There's been some failed space attempts. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. But then, yeah, so I did that. And I remember presenting it to the class, because every time we did an assignment for graphic design, you had to pitch it to the class for practice for being in design agencies and stuff. And so I always hated this part, because I was like, oh, because I'm like, I'm not designed that way. Like, I loved learning about graphic design, but like what we talked in a previous episode about my human design, like I'm not actually designed to have strong opinions.
Yes.
Like, I'm just open to seeing perspectives. So I feel like when I have to pitch something to somebody, I'm like, I have to convince them of my opinion. And I'm like, I don't really care if you like it or not. Exactly. I just created it and I love it. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my pitch. But I remember standing up in front of the class and having to pitch my idea. And they were like, this is really interesting. And I said, yeah. So it's based on on conspiracy theory. One of the biggest ones is, that we didn't actually land on the moon. And both the teachers looked at each other and were like, but we did land on the moon. Is there a conspiracy? Like, neither of them knew that there was a conspiracy theory of people that, like, there was a whole group of people that believed that we didn't actually do it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I just spent hours last night down rabbit holes. I'm like, there's this theory and this. And they're like, what? So I blew their mind. I got a good mark for that. But
you would have blown their minds, because... Yeah. And that's what I was thinking, like, when you go by the forums, but not only that, there's scientists on both sides. That's what I mean. Like, these are people that are actually exploring it with a professionalism, but also like with their theories and testing and analyzing and all that sort of stuff. And one documentary I watched was a scientist that tested all of the materials, the elements that the spacecraft took them there in.
Yeah.
How it went through the different layers of space out of Earth's orbit and then into space, and that the degrees of heat to get there and stuff, and how the aluminium, there was all different parts, there was all different materials that it was made out of, how they couldn't withstand that heat. Like, they actually did it in the lab, that it can't withstand those heats. And I was just like, that for me was just like, whoa, what like, it was just like, and it made sense to me.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, wow. And then there was this other thing with the flag's flying, but there's no wind up there.
Oh yeah, and the shadows didn't make sense in the photos.
And then I was just like, when I really look at it, it was just like this tiny little, like you could see the whatever it is, you know, to go off you could see
go off the edge of the moon.
off the edge of the not really an edge, is it? When it's round.
How it's like the dome shape.
Yeah, a dome
when you see
shape.
the
But
photos,
it's kind of like, you know, you could run over there and do slippery slide off it, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, because like how big the people look compared to like, oh, I just tapped my mic then. But like how big the people look in comparison to the rest of, like if you were to take photos, it's kind of like they used a fisheye lens though. You know how when you take a fisheye lens and it kind of makes people look bigger and the background behind them is smaller.
Did they have them in the 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure fisheye lens. I don't know the history of fisheye lenses. If there's any photography nerds out there that do, please share it with us because I have no idea. I could just easily look it up, but
this thread's going to be pretty big, I bet. But but even like cameras, like we have cameras that are so, if you drop them in water or if they get too hot, they can't handle it. And it's like, well, how did those cameras in the 60s go?
But we've got satellites up there, which are kind of like cameras.
That's true. Yeah. I know. There's so much, isn't there? It's really funny. I'm so open.
A lot of people have died in inverted air bunny quotes, suspiciously, who are like connected to NASA and the whole landing on the moon thing as well.
Yes,
there are a lot of people that suspiciously died. And a lot of these like conspiracy theories.
I know, and they go missing and never heard of again.
I know. And like the people that say, oh, I'm blowing the lid on this. This is the scoop. And then they go and you don't ever see them again. People are like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah.
But like, that's a serious, like that actually is like a red flag type situation. Like, but why would they care if it was not?
Yeah.
It's true. They'll be like, meh, whatever. It's true.
Exactly.
We're solid. It's all good.
That's right.
But if it's not true and people are trying to bring stuff to light, then it's like, oh, shut them up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny world. What about, I want to ask you something. Have you had an experience that you've seen in your own eyes with like an alien or a paranormal or ghosts even? What about that stuff?
I don't believe I've seen aliens. I don't believe that I've seen any like UFOs or had any alien encounters, but I do feel like I've had spirit encounters. I've never, the light behind me is a little bit crazy. Yeah, I do feel like that I've had oh, it keeps fluttering.
Oh, what was that?
It's reflecting off like the sun off the window, but I don't know. Maybe it's birds or something flying past it. I don't know. But I do feel like I have spirit, like things that have happened with spirits. I don't think I've actually seen a ghost, although ghost stories absolutely fascinate me. And there's a quarantine house in Manly in Sydney. And I remember going to the quarantine house. I think it might have been a school excursion. And yeah, they're creepy as. And there's photos all up in one of the rooms there of like people taking photos of ghosts at this quarantine place. And you can go there at night. I haven't been there at night.
That would be so fun.
I know. Like it's like one of those things that I'm like, that would be so amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, no. Like, cause like I would see a ghost and that would freak the hell out of me.
I'd shit my pants.
Yeah, I do believe in them, but I believe more in spirit than actual like ghosts. Although I do have friends who have said that they've seen like ghosts.
Wow.
So, and they are like, yeah, you could tell that they weren't like BSing about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like I can feel presences, like presence.
Yeah.
I do sometimes get words said in my ear that are as clear as day and there's nobody else around, which is
That's
really
happened
creepy.
to me too.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
light just went.
I saw that.
When we said that.
I'm starting to get a bit goose-bumpy.
It is the
But
sun
that's happened to
outside, but it's weird. Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's happened to me. I remember being up in our school hall, a hallway at our school. Actually, I was a teenager, and I heard a man's voice right at my ear. I was reading actually being naughty. I was reading a pass, right? It was a pass to get out of school at lunchtime that my mum had written, but it was an old one. And I was saying to my friend, how could I change the date to today's date so we could go out of school, right?
Yeah.
And I said that to her, and a male's voice, like as a teacher's voice, right there, right at my ear, said, I wouldn't do that if I was you. And then I turned right around to see who it was, and there was no one there. It was really weird. And I just like distinctly remember that. And then I thought, oh, I'm brushing it off. Maybe he just moved really quickly. I didn't even know who the teacher was. It was just a male's like teachery voice. And then in one of our houses about 10 years ago, I on towards my kids' rooms. Ooh. And I said to my ex-husband at the time, I just said, did you hear that? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, can you go check? Because I was like really like frozen at that time.
Yeah.
It's because I was asleep and nothing there. And then I was in the toilet one day and there was a window, right? And it's a blockhouse, so it's just fly wire and screens, like that doesn't actually shut. So you can hear outside, like it doesn't shut.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard this woman do a big sigh, like a real like that. And you could hear like it was a woman's sigh, it wasn't just wind blowing kind of thing. And I was starting to freak out about this house. I was like, what is going on here? So I actually went and saw a clairvoyant and doing bunny ears quotation things.
Yeah.
She actually said that the footsteps, I didn't even tell her about it. She just said to me, oh, there's somebody here with me that wants to say hello. And it was my ex's dad who had passed away. And she said, and he's got a black, hairy, beautiful dog beside him. And I'm like, shit, that's Molly who passed away, which was his dog that really just stayed by his side.
Yeah.
And she didn't know any of this stuff. And then she said, so he wants to tell you that the noises that you hear in your house at night is him. He's going to check on your daughter and he likes to watch her sleep and like stay with her and protect her. And the noises that you're hearing is Molly. She's just she didn't say Molly, is the dog, you know, she's clumsy and she just knocks things over. And I'm like,
wow.
How could you know that? For starters, how could you know that? His dad died before Indy was born, but Indy is the spitting image of her auntie, who was, you know, my ex's younger sister, who was really close to her dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just really interesting. It was just like, how I didn't even tell her any of that stuff. So that was just like, whoa. And then she said, and if it scares you, because it did, she said, just like say out loud, you are scaring me and you're scaring my children. Could you please, you know, move on? And so I did, because I was just like, I don't even know if I believe in this stuff, but I'm just going to say it anyway because I want to stop. So I did, and it went away.
Oh my gosh. I remember I had a similar experience.
Did ya?
Well, not like kind of similar. But it just made me remember, like I got goosebumps then. There was this house that we stayed in. It wasn't our house. When I got married to Brendan, and I had my hens party. So I said to my girls, I was like, okay, I don't want to go into the city. Like going into the city and having a big night isn't my thing. And I said, oh, I want to do something really, really fun. And so they had rented this house for us, like near the beach. And it was this beautiful old beach shack type vibes. It was painted pink. It was amazing.
Oh, how nice.
And it had enough room in it for all of us to sleep over the night. So we had this big sleepover night. We got a local artist to come and help us create some artworks and stuff like that, which was really cool. We had lots of drinks and all of the things and food and everything. It was so fun. It was like a slumber party.
Beautiful.
And anyway, so this house, we had it booked for the Friday night and the Saturday night. So the Saturday night, everybody was staying over. The Friday night, Brendan and myself, and Harper was like 14 months or 12 months or something when we, like she just turned 1.
Yeah.
And so we stayed there the Friday night, and then they all came over during the day on the Saturday, and Brendan took Harper and went back home. So we just had a night there the first night. That night was Friday the 13th. And I remember this because I was like, it's kind of freaky. And anywho, we're staying in this old like house. It had been renovated, but it was still had like the old vibes. And so we had, Brendan and I were in one room, and then we put Harper's cot in the room next to us because there wasn't quite enough room to put the cot right next to the bed. She woke up in the middle of the night, which she did. She was never a kid that slept. And so I usually would get up like, you know, multiple times a night with her.
Yeah.
And so she woke up in the middle of the night. I walked into the other room to get her, and it was pitch black. And I picked her up out of the cot, and I was holding her, and I gave her some milk, and like, you know, was holding her and waiting for her to go back to sleep. And I was sitting there, and it was dark, but like, it was so strange. I kept getting this sense that there was a lot of spirits flying around. Like, it was really weird. I was sitting there and I was holding it, and I was like, there is so many spirits flying around me right now. And I was like, Paula, you've gone mental. Like, what? No, why are you thinking about it? I'm like, and I just kept coming back to it. I'm like, there's so, like, it was just this knowing that I had. And I was like, they're all like just going like flying around me in this room. It was kind of like, you know, when the vision that I got, it was kind of like they were like these little flies that kept like, like, you know, when you're in a place where there's a lot of flies and they're just going crazy and flying everywhere. Like that's the energy that I was picking up. I was like, there are so many spirits just flying around in this room right now. And so like I walked with Harper back into the other room, and I'm like, she's sleeping in here. Like, this is weird. So anywho, I pretty much didn't sleep that night. Woke up in the morning, and I said to Brendan, I'm like, I reckon this house is haunted. And he was like, what? And I told him what happened. And he's like, yeah, you need to get some more sleep. Like, I was pretty sleep deprived. But yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just tired. And I was just freaking myself out because we're in this place that we've never stayed here before. Yeah. So anywho, we stayed the next night with all of like my girlfriends for my hens party. I was very drunk by the time we went to bed, so I'd forgotten all about it. Yeah. And I slept through the night, and anyway, and I woke up, and everybody was like, oh, it was so fun sleeping. Everybody had the best night. Nobody said anything. And it wasn't until like a week later that I was talking to one of my best friends, and I said, oh, actually, like, I reckon that place is haunted. And she's like, I wish you wouldn't have said that to me. Like, she's like, I stayed in a haunted house, because she was asking me about something about the weekend. And I went, oh yeah, because that whole week after we've gotten back, I felt like one of the spirits had followed us home. Really? And was in our apartment, and we'd never had anything. And there was like things falling off shelves randomly. There was doors slamming in other rooms. It was like there was just these odd things happening that had never happened before. And I remember saying to a friend, I'm like, I think like it was Friday the 13th, and we stayed in this house, and like I felt like there was a lot of presence there. Wow. And like now I feel like something's in our house. And I'd never felt that way before. We'd lived in this apartment for like a year beforehand or something. Oh, it must have been more than that, because I was pregnant with Harper when we moved in there. and she was already 1. So
Wow,
I was like, I've never
man.
felt this before. I never experienced anything like this in this place
Wow.
before. And it's apartment. It's like a new apartment building. It's not like an old house or anything. Yeah, like all of our neighbors were like were owners. We were one of the only renters in the block, and so they'd all bought when it was built, sort of thing. So nothing had really happened inside of this place. So I was like, it's really strange. And so she said to me, she said, ask next time you hear the spirit, tell it to leave.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but there was something on the kitchen bench and it fell off onto the kitchen floor and it made this huge crack, like this crack sound. It didn't break, whatever it was. It was something wooden, I think. I went, oh, like this. And I was like, you need to leave now. You are no longer welcome. And I was like, I was standing there just going, oh, and then, it didn't
happen again.
Anything after that.
That's what that lady said to me.
Weird.
It's just like, if you tell them, they respect it. They'll. But
yeah,
it's really interesting. It happened. There was a presence in my brother's house in Cairns. He's still in it, but I think I definitely asked it to leave because it was freaking me out.
Ooh.
But they loved it. The boys. This is my
really?
brother Clinton, his husband Luke. They didn't worry them. They're just like, hey, he's here. Like, they just,
The ghost is here.
No.
Hey, ghost. It's like a third roommate. Sup, ghost? Yeah.
Oh, you're up. Okay.
Morning. I've been up for hours. Where have you been?
Oh, funny. They even named him. But I think, I mean, that doesn't happen now. But it's really interesting. Like, if I hadn't have had that experience of hearing it, I was still on the fence about it. But because I heard it and the crashing noises and the banging, I couldn't tell in Indy's room anyway, because I'd walk in there, it was a bomb site. Indy's always a messy bedroom sort of kid, like me. There's clothes everywhere, there's speakers, and it's always been like that. But so it was interesting, really, really interesting. So it definitely made me think a different way. It definitely made me go, whoa, there's stuff that we just don't know about.
There's actually something really interesting. It's called the Mandela effect. Have you heard of it?
Haven't heard of it, no.
Okay, so I'm not sure who it was, but she'd done some independent research. It was about Nelson Mandela, and it was about, there was a whole group of people that like remember him dying when he was incarcerated in prison.
Yeah.
And like witnessing his funeral on the TV.
Right.
But then he ended up being released, and then he was president or prime minister or something afterwards. So like he didn't, but there was a whole, there was a lot of people who were like, I swear he died and I saw his funeral on TV.
Okay.
So there's this thing called the Mandela effect, where a group of people believe something about something that had happened, and then realizing later, like, that's actually not what it was. And there's like a whole bunch of
as well.
they believe that when you jaywalk, so there's all these things. So if you think about, a lot of it's got to do with like pop culture things. So there's something about Star Wars.
Wow.
About how in the movie Star Wars, people remember the line as, Luke, I am your father.
Right.
When the line is actually, no, I am your father. And so there's like a whole bunch of people that are like, what? That's not what he says. And I know that I've had those moments a few times watching movies, and like I would repeat like a quote from a movie so many times, and my friends would always say it. And then you go and watch the movie again and you'd be like, that's not what they say. They say, I don't remember it like that. So the Mandela effect is like remembering something different to what it was. But then there's a whole like conspiracy theory movement around, it's because we're in like we're in like the Matrix, or there's like alternate universe or something like that, and like people are changing things. So it's kind of like people have gone like time traveled and changed things, and then it's had the butterfly effect and it's actually changed something in the past, but it actually wasn't like that to begin with. Like there's time travelers and stuff.
Oh,
That's the
man.
conspiracy theory about the whole Mandela effect. I haven't looked too far into it, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, there's certain things about events and things where, you know, people are like, yeah, that's what it is. And then you watch it again, or you know, you're like, oh, actually, that's not quite what happened. But then there's a lot of scientists who are like, yeah, but that's just proof that our memories aren't the best source of, you know, facts and truth and stuff. Like our memories are actually not that reliable when it comes to remembering facts about things, because
I don't really want to know that, because sometimes it's like, I know you said that. I remember distinctively, instinctively that you said, you know, that thing, and then it's just like, oh, they're saying that they're not, but I'm like, yes, you did. I remember you saying that word for word.
Yeah.
But that's just throwing that out a bit, because it's just like, whoa, what if it's a sliding doors moment?
Well, yeah, I think, because here's the thing, right? Ultimately, what I believe is that we all are our own world, but then we're all part of the collective world.
Yeah.
So when we're at our fullest expression of who we are, then, you know, that's when the world's going to come together. It's not trying to be like everybody else and have everybody be and act and, you know, the same and believe the same things that we're going to come together. It's when we all our own full expression, then the world will come together, right? But I see it's because we're all one, but then we're all our own whole world. And with that, we get to create that world. Like whatever we do is creating our own individual world. And in any one moment, there is an abundance of directions in which, or realities, if you'd will, of which, what could happen next due to the choices that we make and the way that we see things and the way that we respond.
Yeah.
So there could be, like, to me, this seems plausible that there could be some sort of like, I don't know, something in the way that we're all perceiving our own worlds and the way that we're creating our own worlds with the decisions that we make, that there could be some way that something could be altered. I don't know. Do you reckon time travel is real? Is the question.
I
like, could it? I reckon it could be. Like, it could be a thing. We literally can time travel. Like, this is my belief, is that like our thoughts from the past, we've got our visions for the future, and we've got the present moment. So technically we can time travel, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
Inside our own minds.
Correct, yeah.
But like time traveling, like Back to the Future time traveling, where you actually go to a place and relive it.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, that's what some people believe, is that they've gone back and changed something because they were so sure that it was the way that they remembered it, that they're like, oh, no. Oh, and there's also like photos and stuff where, who knows if these are real, but like, you know, people claim that there's photos of like, you know, olden day photos, and somebody will be in there, staying there holding a phone in the photo, and they'll be like, why? How did they get there? They weren't invented then.
Yes.
So
I can't say it can't happen. You know?
Yeah.
If it's I've got to think about it harder for it to make sense.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to make sense, does it? Like, really? Why does it have to make sense?
I don't know. Magic.
When you think about it, so this is what happens with me. I go down lots of rabbit holes. Have you ever read that book, Where's My Cheese, or whatever it's called? Was it Where's My Cheese?
What?
Is it, hang on, I'm going to Google it. Hang on.
Okay.
Basically, I go down a rabbit hole, and I was just thinking then, like serendipity, like how we actually find our soulmates. Like out of the billions of people in the world,
Yeah.
how did that happen? You know? If you haven't read that book, by the way,
Where's My Cheese?
is it Where's My Cheese? It's something. Yeah, Where's My Cheese? It's actually a personal development book. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
Who moved my cheese?
Who moved? Hey man, who moved my cheese?
Who moved my cheese, man? Who moved my cheese? It's got 4 characters in it, and they're 4 mice. They're 4 mice, and it's how they think and how they navigate, and the negative and the positive ways of looking at the world when they're stuck in a maze. And they get hungry because there's no more cheese, or there's the one that's really greedy and hides all the cheese from the others. He found a pocket of cheese.
Yeah. Because
It's the
whoever's got the
smallest
cheese
book.
has the power.
I know. There's that as well. The cheese. Oh man, cheese does turn me on, honey. I love my cheese. If you haven't read that book, it's called Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. It's a little book that your teenagers could read, or you could read in a day. Lots of people put it up as one of their books that changed their lives.
Yeah.
Next to The Alchemist, Paula Coelho. So it's like that's how deep. It doesn't sound deep, but it's actually very cool.
Yeah, okay.
So that sort of talks about this as well. It's like different paths that you can take and the different outcomes. A bit sliding doorsy spread. So when I talk about aliens, I get to the point where I think about, how do you meet your soulmate? How does that actually happen? So you know what I mean? It just like, it sparks that next thing, and it sparks that next thing.
Yeah, because after having our podcast episode with Karsha Burke, who talks about past lives and how souls make contracts to reincarnate together.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because I know when I met Brendan for the very first time, I had this very strong feeling that I was like, he's somebody to me.
Yeah.
And it was so strange. And I'd never felt that way before about when I'd met somebody, and I was like, this is really strange.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we connected almost, it was kind of like we had pressure of other people, other friends and family and things saying, oh, when are you going to get married? You're next to have babies, blah, 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 like saying all the things like all of the time.
Yeah.
But with us, it was kind of like there was never a rush to do any of that stuff, because we're like, yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
wow. It was so different to any other relationship that I had before. Because whereas it would be like, okay, so are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Yeah. Okay. Are we going to move into like what's the next thing? Like kind of rushing it along. Whereas I was just like, we're not going anywhere.
There.
Like there's no rush.
No.
So it was kind of, yeah. But then the other viewpoint to that, which I also am open to, is that we don't all just have one soulmate.
Yeah.
Like if you were born in a different country, into a different family, surrounded by different people, you would find a soulmate.
Absolutely.
You'd find somebody who was, I don't know, vibing the same vibes, or
I agree. Totally.
Whatever the thing is.
I totally agree with that. The way I used to feel about it was that that soulmates don't exist. There's love but I've grown into that. Yes, they do. Absolutely they do. But I don't think it's just one. Yeah, interesting.
Because that's also what Karsha said. She said that there'll be many people around you who you are connected on the soul level as well. So it's not just your partner or your family members.
That's it.
But it will be, and then it's interesting because I've heard of people having past life readings where they're like, oh, in a past life, my daughter was my mother or something like that.
Yeah.
And like they can see parts of that in their relationship and things like that. I was like, wow, that's so cool. So they're not always going to play the same role in every lifetime that you have.
That's right.
Mm.
I could be your pet dog in the next lifetime.
You could be. Yeah, Shonah. No. But
that was fun. We're only really
and the end. Tell us your thoughts.
Wild Rose! Wild Rose! Wild Rose!
Wow.